This is Alana. Welcome. I am going to be popping on a little more than normal over the next week or two. I've got quite a few New Year's type topics. It's a fun time to be setting goals and looking ahead, which is one thing that I love to do. So you can expect a few more videos or Successful Writer podcast episodes than normal. So, welcome. Hope the year has been off to a good start so far and that you are staying safe and healthy and well. And I also hope that you have had at least a little bit of time to spend in reflection and thinking what are some of the great things that happened last year? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to that could make this year even better? So, in the description, there will be a link to a resource that is going to be free through January, and that is the New Year's Planning Retreat for Authors. So, last weekend, members of our Writing Cave Patreon community and members of our Successful Writer All Access membership got an invite to join me for several hours on Saturday morning, and we went through a lot of stuff, and it was good. It was powerful. People had some great aha moments. And so, what I decided to do was to just condense it into an abbreviated 30-minute version that you can do at your own time. So, that's the New Year's Planning Retreat for Authors, which will be free in January, and the link is in the description. I want to talk a little bit about some of my goals for this year. So, if you go back and listen to some previous episodes of the Successful Writer podcast, ones that have come out in the past week to week and a half, I do a lot of my end of the year reflections there. I share some of my income breakdowns and questions that I ask myself as I'm reflecting on the past year. And now we're going to shift gears. And like I said earlier, start looking ahead. So, for some of you, that's going to mean pulling out your calendar and getting your entire production schedule committed to. That can be really, really fun for some people. For me, that's a little bit too rigid. I don't know how long it's going to take me to complete a book, and so I don't like giving myself, a deadline 6 months from now for something. It's the same reason why, in general, I do not put up pre-orders till I've written at least the first draft. But for certain personality types and productivity types, this is one of the most exciting times for you. And actually putting those plans to paper is what's going to give you your blueprint for the year, and you can make your plan and execute your plan, and that is awesome. So this is just a quick reminder that there's not really a one size fits all for goal setting. I might suggest things that don't really sound like they're going to work for you. I'm going to give you lots of ideas, and you can pick and choose what's going to resonate with you. And some of what I'm doing here is really just having a conversation, right? So one of the things I want to talk about is setting an intention for the year. I did not set a word for 2020. And when my friend and I were doing kind of our own end of the year reflection together, I realized, okay, well, if I had to pick a word, word would have been survival, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, given what things have been like in 2020. And now I really want to look forward to 2021. I feel very optimistic, and some people will probably say it's misplaced optimism. And I'm not saying that I've got blinders on, but I do feel like this new year is significant. Some people are a little cynical and they say, well, January 1st is just a date on a calendar. It's not like December 31st happens and then we get to January 1st and all of the troubles that we were facing in 2020 are gone. And I agree. But I also know that this is a time where people are collectively looking toward a better future. They are doing the introspection that we're doing here. They are setting hopes and intentions and dreams. They're making resolutions to work on improving themselves. And I think that that has to have some positive benefit that will make a lasting impact. So I will go ahead and be on record saying I don't mind being called totally naive, but I do feel hopeful, and I feel like what we're doing here, setting intentions for ourselves, setting positive hopes for the future, I feel like this is going to impact not only us personally, but those around us. And if enough people are doing it at just the right time, I do feel like it's going to have actual worldwide significance, or at least the potential to have that worldwide significance. So that's me getting off my Pollyanna box now. And I want to tell you my word of the year for this year. I did pick one. Some people prefer to do this for like a word of the month. If you're like me, sometimes like there are so many things that might happen in a year, who knows? That's another reason why I don't commit to like in a production schedule that I have set in stone by January 1st. Some of you do. So my intention for this year, my word that I want to remind myself of, it's actually very different. Most of the time the words they're a little cookie cutter, right? Like you could look up a word cloud of like inspiring words and like all the words would be big on there. Abundance, growth, things like that. Joy. My word this year is actually shameless. And what I mean by that is I do not want to keep on carrying around guilt for what I am or am not doing. So I've mentioned before, 2020's productivity as a fiction writer was not the productivity that I've had in other years. And I want to be able to let go of guilt and let go of shame and to realize I'm at a place where I can slow down the fiction a little bit. The income doesn't take a hit, which is a really nice blessing. Plus, I really enjoy creating these resources for you. So I'm not turning my back on the fiction, but I am intentionally letting go of guilt for what I am or am not doing there. And so my word is shameless, and I've used it even as I've decided how to spend my days. I realized just looking at my chronotype, which if you've never done this, I really encourage you to do. Look at your chronotype. Ask yourself, when are you the most active? When are you the most creative? When do you get the most words written? When are you just at your peak? And also, when does your just life schedule have the most time? And hopefully that's going to help you. If you only had an hour to write, do you know exactly what time of day in general your peak performance is going to come out? So before I had kids, I was a total morning person. But what I have discovered is it takes my brain now quite a while to wake up. So if I were to do a half-hour writing sprint at 8 or 8:30 in the morning versus a writing sprint at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, it's like half the word count and half the speed. And so one of the things that I am reminding myself is that I do not need to be an up and at 'em, go get 'em in the morning kind of person. I can take my mornings a little bit slower and remind myself that I can be shameless in that. So if you've got an intention or a word of the year or a word of the quarter or just something that you want to focus on, I would encourage you can throw it in the comments section. You can write it on a post-it. Here's something else. When we set these intentions, we can set different intentions for different areas of our life. And sometimes reminding ourselves, even if it's just a word or two, can be really, really powerful. So for example, I have an area where I keep all the bills, right? And all the finance stuff. And on it, I have a sticky note that tells me the 3 intentions that I want to bring into my finances. Let's see if I can remember them off the top of my head. I know one is generosity and one is gratitude. And I forget what the other one is right now. But I remind myself each time I open up that little box with all my financial things stuck there, I remind myself of the intentions I want to bring to my finances. I did a call just this morning with members of the Successful Writer All Access membership, and we talked about what makes a great author website. And I had about 5 minutes from the time where I had grabbed my coffee and turned on the computer to when we were going to go live. And I reminded myself of the intentions that I set for when I'm in teaching mode with my students. And that is, I want to be gentle and I want to be wise and I want to be inspiring. And hopefully that's what you see when you watch these videos or listen to the Successful Writer podcast or things like that. And so I would encourage you to remember that you can set different intentions for different areas of your life, and just a quick way to remind yourself of those could be really powerful. So maybe you have a desire to put your creativity first this year, and so your intention when it comes to your writing is really like creativity or the muse or whatever you want to call it, whatever word reminds you of that or phrase. Put that somewhere where when you're getting ready to open up your document, you see that. At one point, for my very first book, I actually wrote out a page-long prayer for my book and for the people who were going to read it. And every day while I waited for my computer to load up, I would actually read that prayer. You don't have to get that involved, right? Now I'm down to a post-it with 2 words on it. But you could do something like that to remind you of just the energy and the emotions that you want to bring into certain areas of your life. So that is how to set intentions for the new year. Don't feel like you've got to like pick one thing right now and stick with it all 12 months. We always have the freedom to pivot. We always have the freedom to kind of recreate our dreams and intentions. But it's also nice to have a goal so that you start walking toward that goal. And then if you need to course correct, you can go ahead and course correct. I have a friend who puts it in GPS terms. She's like, your GPS can't tell you where to go until you start moving, right? I don't know if you're like me. I'm very directionally challenged. So if Google Maps says head west on a certain road, I have like a 1 in 4 chance of going the right way. And so when that happens, when my phone says go west, I pick a turn. And I know that I'm either going to hear the next step or I'm going to hear that little rerouting sound and it's going to tell me where I can turn around and get back on course. So sometimes it's better to just start going somewhere, right? Set your intention. No, we don't know what the next 12 months have in store for us. That's too far for any of us to predict anything with any sort of clarity, but go ahead and set your intentions now and remember that you can always pivot and course correct as you go. It's way better than staying stagnant. So I hope that was a blessing and an encouragement for you. Don't forget to check out our free resource that will be free through January to get the, the New Year's Planning Retreat for authors with the link in the description here. And I hope you're having a great day. Hope your year is off to a great start so far, and we'll talk to you soon.